It doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to Gridware. That's what Rowan Mercer said. On stage, under the big screen with the slide that read, projected acquisition value $145 million. I was standing outside the VIP section when he said it. Red light on the badge scanner, one short beep. That stupid plastic gate didn't move. The security kid looked at me like I'd wandered into the wrong wedding. Executive level only. Ma'am? Ma'am. I swear. Inside, Jordan Pike was shaking Mercer's hand. 26, tight suit, big grin. They handed him an award for Innovation of the Year. His dashboard, his predictive routing breakthrough, my engine. You ever watch someone present your own work like they built it from scratch? It's not rage, not at first. It's this weird buzzing behind your ears. And as usual, this story is a work of fiction, created by our editorial team for storytelling purposes. All characters, events, and organizations are fictional. Any resemblance is purely coincidental. Thank you, and let's continue. For context, my name is Corinne Halstead. I am 45 years old. I build logistics systems for a living. Not the pretty dashboards. The stuff underneath. The stuff that actually decides where 2,000 freight trucks go at 3 in the morning when Chicago weather turns stupid. Mercer kept talking. Gridware Intelligence is our proprietary asset. Developed in-house. Proprietary. I could smell cheap champagne and something burnt from the catering trays. That smell stuck in my throat. Here's the thing he didn't mention. The core algorithm runs through Halstead Vector LLC, my company, registered before I ever signed a Gridware contract. Clean room, separate servers, separate certificates, non-exclusive license, not ownership. I didn't storm in. I didn't interrupt. Honestly, I thought about it for about 3 seconds. Instead, I took out my phone and snapped a picture of the slide, the one with $145 million glowing in blue behind him. At 11:48 that night, I sent an email to legal and the CFO. Please confirm renewal terms for the non-exclusive license agreement between Gridware Dynamics and Halstead Vector LLC. Current term expires in 31 days. That was it. No drama, no accusations. Just a reminder. Because if it doesn't belong to me anymore, like he said, then why does the license expire next month? That was the night I stopped being quiet. The morning after the gala, I opened my old incorporation file. Halstead Vector LLC, filed 18 months before I ever signed with Gridware. I remember sitting at my kitchen table back then, laptop open, thinking I was being paranoid. Honestly, I almost didn't do it. Felt dramatic. Good thing I did. When I joined Gridware, I read every line of that employment contract. No all inventions related to industry clause. No automatic assignment of anything I touched in my spare time. They tried to slide in a broader version 2 years later. I pushed back. HR blinked first. I built the routing engine at night. My hardware, my cloud account, separate validation server, separate certificate chain, clean room documentation. I even hired an IP attorney, Diane Kessler, who charged me $250 an hour to basically tell me, you're not crazy, keep records. So I kept everything. Server invoices, Git logs, time-stamped drafts. I swear I documented like I was expecting a courtroom someday. 3 winters ago, when that polar vortex shut down half the Midwest freight network, my engine rerouted 600 shipments in under 12 minutes. We avoided something like $60 million in cascading delays. Jordan presented the dashboard to the board. Afterward, he clapped me on the shoulder. You're a wizard. Corinne, I told him. No, I'm the infrastructure. He laughed. He thought I was joking. Gridware licensed only the prediction layer. Non-exclusive. Renewable annually. Usage rights. Not ownership. I knew exactly what I owned. I knew what they didn't. Which is why when Mercer stood on that stage and called it proprietary, I didn't feel confused. I felt prepared. Rowan Mercer isn't an idiot. That's the thing people get wrong. 2 days after the gala, he called me into the glass conference room. No small talk. We need to streamline ownership before diligence. He began, flipping through a printed architecture diagram of my module. Investors don't like ambiguity. You're licensing the prediction layer, I replied. There's no ambiguity. He didn't smile. IT tells me the validation certificate routes through Halstead Vector. Correct. I want it internalized. It doesn't work that way. He brought in Aaron from infrastructure. Aaron looked tired. We tried rebuilding the certificate chain, he explained. The core inference engine requires a real-time handshake with my private validation server, without the proprietary API key hosted by Halstead Vector. The routing logic defaults to a generic, inefficient baseline. Mercer leaned back. Can we replicate it? Aaron hesitated. Not without access. Access. That word hung in the air. Mercer turned to me. We're closing a letter of intent in 60 days. $145 million. I can't have core IP sitting outside the company. It's not sitting outside. I said evenly. It's licensed. His jaw tightened. I need it owned. You need it disclosed correctly. Silence. Later that afternoon, legal scheduled a clarification meeting. The draft amendment hit my inbox before dinner. Retroactive intellectual property alignment, broad language, convenient timing. Mercer wasn't careless. He was calculating. Technical control hadn't worked. So he shifted to paper. I read the amendment twice before responding. Some people try to force reality through code. He was about to try it through contract. Mercer didn't waste time. He closed the glass door behind me and dropped a stapled packet on the table. Let's clean this up. I flipped the first page. Intellectual Property Alignment Amendment. He folded his arms. It doesn't belong to you anymore. Everything developed while employed here is company property. You're expanding scope retroactively? I replied, I'm clarifying ownership. You're rewriting it. His tone sharpened. We're about to close a $145 million acquisition. Investors expect clean assets. It's clean, I said. It's licensed. That ambiguity ends today. He pushed a pen toward me. I read every line. Broad phrasing, vague definitions, language that tried to stretch backward in time. He watched my face the whole time, like he was measuring resistance. Corinne. He added, softer now. At 45. Stability matters. Gridware gives you that. Stability. That word almost made me laugh. I turned to the final page. Section 2 references an attachment. Standard. I'll include one. His eyes narrowed. What kind of attachment? Clarification. I printed Appendix A from my folder. I drafted it the night before. It read excludes intellectual property registered under Halstead Vector, LLC prior to May 14, 2018. Clear and dated. Referenced explicitly in the main clause. No ambiguity. He scanned the appendix, a smirk playing on his lips. He thought it was just a technicality, something he could litigate away once the $145 million hit his account. He signed, prioritizing the immediate exit velocity over what he perceived as a minor future liability. 3 days after Appendix A was archived, I sent Mercer a clean proposal. Subject line renewal options. Option 1, 12-month renewal at $8 million. Option 2, full acquisition of Halstead Vector intellectual property at $30 million. Option 3, non-renewal upon term expiration. No emotion, just numbers. He called me into his office within the hour. $8 million, he scoffed. You're pricing this like we don't already own it. You don't... He tapped the signed amendment on his desk. We updated IP. You referenced Appendix A in the main clause. I replied. Read it. Internal legal dialed in. Marissa from compliance sounded cautious. The existing agreement remains non-exclusive and time-bound. Mercer cut her off. That ambiguity is resolved. It isn't. I said quietly. He leaned forward. You're willing to jeopardize a $145 million transaction over this? I'm offering you a path to avoid that. He stared at me for a long moment, then pushed the paper back across the desk. We decline renewal. Understood. I left before the room could fill with more ego. That afternoon, I sent the formal notice. Halstead Vector LLC confirms non-renewal of the non-exclusive license agreement, effective upon expiration in 30 days. No threats, no warnings, just documentation. The clock was no longer private between me and my inbox. It was official. Gridware was preparing to sell something they had only ever rented. The buyer's team arrived on a Tuesday morning. No drama, just laptops and questions. Their lead counsel, a woman named Rebecca Lang, started with a checklist. We'll need the certificate ownership chain. Mercer nodded. Of course. And a full source repository audit? Already prepared. License origin documentation. Asset disclosure schedule. Proprietary internal platform. Mercer replied smoothly. Fully integrated. I stayed quiet. IT was pulled into a side room within the hour. Aaron texted me. They're asking about the validation endpoint. I walked down there anyway. Rebecca looked up from her laptop. The SSL certificate resolves to halsteadvector.com. Mercer answered before I could. Legacy naming? Internal migration. Aaron cleared his throat. We attempted to regenerate the certificate locally. And Rebecca prompted. It still validates against Halstead Vector's server. Silence. You could hear the hum of the overhead lights. Rebecca turned to me. Ms. Halstead, do you own Halstead Vector LLC? Yes. And does it control the authentication layer for the predictive module? Yes. Mercer shifted in his chair. We updated IP. That asset is absorbed. Rebecca didn't look at him. Our review shows a non-exclusive, time-bound license. Marisa from Internal Legal joined via video. The agreement expired 4 days ago. Mercer snapped. We're finalizing renewal. No, I corrected. Halstead Vector declined renewal. Jordan tried to step in. The dashboard functions as an internal system. Rebecca's voice stayed even. Functionality is not ownership. Aaron added quietly. Prediction layer is still calling external validation. Mercer rubbed his temples. We're working through technical consolidation. Rebecca closed her laptop halfway. We're not concerned with consolidation. We're concerned with representation. The audit committee chair requested a closed session. I didn't say anything else. The system was still running. Trucks were still routing. On the surface, everything looked intact. But in their metadata, the chain of control was clear. And metadata doesn't lie. Chapter 7, Validation Failed Presentation Day, arrived with an eerily normal veneer. Mercer wore a silk tie, and Jordan was splashed with expensive cologne. Both radiated the scent of imminent success. On the massive high-definition screen, the dashboard interface glowed a sleek map of freight corridors stretching across the continent. Jordan stood at the front, holding a laser pointer like a conductor's baton. As you can see, our predictive engine optimizes carrier allocation in real time. Every second that passes, it saves the system thousands of dollars in hidden costs. He confidently clicked the toggle for the risk forecast layer. The panel refreshed. Then it froze. It didn't crash with blaring alarms. Instead, the optimization toggle simply turned a deathly shade of gray. The routes that were supposed to be highlighted in green for efficiency suddenly bled red, the color of the longest, most expensive, and most time-consuming paths. In the bottom corner of the screen, a small string of text appeared. 403 forbidden. Back-end authentication failed. Just a minor network glitch. Jordan stammered, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. He hammered the F5 key frantically. The gray remained. The system hadn't died. It had simply reverted to a primitive mode from a decade ago. Mercer leaned forward, his voice a low growl. Aaron, fix it. Now, Aaron. The infrastructure lead stared at his laptop with trembling hands. It's not a system bug, sir. The prediction layer is attempting a handshake with an external validation server. But that server, it's refusing to respond. Rebecca Lang, the buyer's representative, didn't look surprised at all. She slowly opened a leather-bound folder and slid it across the polished table toward Mercer. Inside were copies of the Halstead Vector license, Appendix A, and the non-renewal notice, postmarked 30 days ago. Mr. Mercer, Rebecca said, her tone emotionless but sharp as a razor. Your system is still running, but its value is not. We are here to buy the brain, not the corpse. This is just a technical misunderstanding. Mercer defended, his eyes darting toward Marisa from legal. Marissa adjusted her glasses. Her voice calmed to the point of cruelty. Appendix A, which you signed, explicitly states all intellectual property registered under Halstead Vector LLC falls outside the scope of Gridware's asset transfer. And that license expired at midnight. Jordan looked at me, his eyes wide with the realization of his own collapse. But Corinne, you said this was an internal system. It was internal, I replied, my voice a quiet anchor in the middle of the storm. Until you tried to turn it into a product for sale without consulting the owner? Rebecca looked at the grayed-out screen, where trucks were now defaulting to congested routes, costing millions in theoretical profits every hour. She turned to Mercer. You swore this was proprietary technology, but the metadata and security certificates prove you are squatting on third-party tech in the middle of your own due diligence. The room felt as if the oxygen had been sucked out. Mercer looked at me directly, his eyes bloodshot with rage and humiliation. You are systematically sabotaging this deal? No, I said, packing my laptop and standing tall with the posture of a woman who knows exactly what she's worth. I am simply enforcing a contract. You wanted to sell the vehicle, but I own the engine. You can keep the chassis, but it's not going anywhere without me. If you want the table to stand, you have to learn to respect the carpenter. The system kept running. The trucks kept moving, but the $145 million figure on the presentation slide now looked like nothing more than scrap paper. Power had shifted in silence. Without the need for an explosion, no one was looking at the dashboard anymore. Rebecca closed the folder slowly. Your disclosure package characterizes this routing engine as proprietary intellectual property. Mercer straightened. It's integrated into our core platform. That wasn't my statement. Rebecca's voice stayed level. Ownership was... Silence stretched across the table. Marissa spoke carefully. The agreement on record is a non-exclusive license. Mercer shot back. We amended intellectual property scope. Appendix A excludes Halstead Vector assets. Marissa replied. Rebecca turned toward me. Ms. Halstead. For the record, does Gridware own the predictive routing algorithm? No, I answered. Halstead Vector licensed usage. Ownership was never transferred. Mercer's jaw tightened. That's a technicality. It's a contract, I said. Rebecca folded her hands. Continued use beyond license term may constitute infringement. It's still operational, Mercer insisted. Aaron, from IT, spoke up quietly. Base routing operates. The predictive engine cannot authenticate. Rebecca nodded. Operational continuity doesn't eliminate disclosure risk. The word risk hung heavier than system failure ever could. Mercer looked at me like I'd betrayed him personally. You're jeopardizing a $145 million transaction? I provided renewal options. I replied. They weren't accepted. Rebecca glanced at her associate, then back at Mercer. Given the discrepancy between representation and documented ownership, we're suspending the transaction pending clarification. That was it. No shouting, no dramatic exit, just suspension. Mercer's authority thinned in the room. Board members stopped looking at him for answers and started looking at legal. The system hadn't crashed. Nothing exploded. But the foundation the valuation stood on wasn't theirs to sell. And once that became clear, no slide deck could fix it. The deal didn't explode overnight. It just stalled. The board called an emergency audit review. Investor letters started coming in. Polite language, sharp undertones, clarification requested regarding intellectual property representation. Valuation projections were quietly revised downward. No headlines. Just spreadsheets shifting. 3 days later, Mercer called my direct line. We need to talk. I'm listening. I can authorize $12 million for immediate transfer of rights. I already offered acquisition terms. I replied, fine. 18 million? You declined. A pause. I could hear him exhale through his nose. 26 million. Clean transfer. We close this. Ownership isn't urgency-driven. I told him. The valuation spike doesn't determine asset value. His tone hardened. You're burning the company down to prove a point. No, I answered. I'm enforcing a contract. Silence. You could have been part of this exit. He added, almost softer. I was, as a licenser. We ended the call without resolution. Later that week, 2 Chicago freight clients reached out to Halstead Vector directly. Are you accepting independent contracts? Yes, I told them. Gridware still operated, trucks still moved, but leverage had shifted. And leverage, once lost, doesn't come back easily. 2 weeks after the suspension, Rebecca Lang called me directly. We'd like to move forward, she said. Not with Gridware. With Halstead Vector. As a vendor, I asked, As a strategic technology partner, that means independent contract, I clarified. Yes, no absorption clause. No retroactive language, correct. And licensing remains non-exclusive. She didn't hesitate. That's acceptable. We met in a smaller conference room this time. No big screen, no performance, just paper and signatures. I signed on behalf of Halstead Vector, LLC, not as an employee, not as an internal architect, as the owner. Rebecca extended her hand. We should have asked you first. You should have read the metadata, I replied. She smiled a little at that. Gridware never collapsed. They downsized, repositioned. Mercer stayed quiet for a while. Board oversight tightened. That's corporate reality. It bends before it breaks. 3 days later, I got an email from Jordan. Subject line opportunity. I saw Jordan's LinkedIn update a month later. Open to work. He wasn't a visionary. He was just a narrator who lost his script once I took the pages back. I read it twice before answering. We hire engineers who understand ownership. I wrote back, if you're ready to build instead of present, send your technical portfolio. He responded with a simple, understood. I walked past Gridware headquarters one afternoon. No badge clipped to my jacket. No access denied beep. And here's the thing I didn't expect. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt steady. If you've ever built something really built, don't let applause confuse you about who owns it. Paper matters. Contracts matter. The quiet decisions you make before anyone's watching matter more than the speech someone gives later. If this story hits close to home, drop a comment. Or just remember it the next time someone calls your work company property a little too quickly. Because in business, the person who holds the source code isn't the most powerful. The one who holds the ownership is,